Welcome back to the Diamond K Show here on Radio on Fire. And of course, breaking news. And I'm pleasantly surprised because Bernie Sanders does not strike me as the type of person to go about things just to be politically correct. Obviously, ending his presidential campaign today, there was no path to victory for Mr. Sanders. There was no path to victory for this candidate. And I understand that, this is the second time that he's done that, done this, running for president. Biden has, this is what, Biden's third time running. It be like that sometimes. And I see a lot of Bernie supporters on Twitter and on social media very upset that Bernie is now out of the race. And the time is now here to see whether or not Mr. Sanders is going to really actively support the now Democratic nominee in all but name, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is somebody who this time last year, I was not speaking highly of, and I'm not going to speak highly of him now, but Bernie Sanders made the announcement in a call with his campaign staff. His exit is a stunning change, considering that he had some strong performances in the first three states that voted in February. Many thought that he was on the path to victory. Many thought that. Many thought that his rabid support and the people that support him vocally and attack people online, they thought that it was going to be his time. Now, the contest now ending, the Democratic race is over. Joe Biden and this goes to show you how mainstream media can paint things one way, but that doesn't mean that that's the actual outcome. I often talk about mainstream media lying to you. Mainstream media painted this picture like Joe Biden did not have a chance in hell, right? They painted this, he was out of money, he was this. They were just telling a story, story. The reason why they told the story that way is because, yes, he didn't have a lot of the money that others had, but he had name recognition. And sometimes who you know and name recognition can be more valuable than having money, especially if you don't know what to spend that money on. You don't spend that money on the right things. They crowned Hillary Clinton last cycle as the heir apparent. And you see that did not work out too well. So they chose to do the underdog strategy for Joe Biden. Everybody likes the underdog, right? Everybody likes the comeback kid. And that's how they portrayed Joe Biden this time around, as the comeback kid, as the underdog who came up and came from behind and won the Democratic nomination, because the heir apparent story that they told with Hillary Clinton last time did not work out well. So mainstream media told another story. And that's what happens. As I said, the contest now, the country is in the middle of this pandemic. A lot of people weren't even checking for the election. A lot of people forgot all about the election. But the election is coming. Election's still coming in Wisconsin yesterday. They had voting. The Republicans trying to do whatever they can do to they normally in conditions where there's no pandemic, they try to suppress the vote and depress the turnout. And the fact that we're in the midst of a pandemic, it could have made this easier. But understand this: the Republican Party has less members in it than the Democratic Party. And anything, as far as registered, anything that they can do to try to get less people to turn out or make it more complicated. That's why they have the long lines. That's why they don't want you to have a mail-in vote. That's why they want to make absentee voting so difficult, because the more people that vote, the probability is that more people would vote for Democrats just on sheer numbers of registered Democrats versus Republicans. Now, of course, a lot of registered Democrats voted for Donald Trump last time. And, there's always opportunities where that can happen. But the election is going forward, whether people want to pay attention to it or not, whether they want to act like it's on their mind or not, the election is going forward. So as far as progressives and Democrats, progressive Democrats are upset right now, very upset. And I understand why they will be upset because the champion progressive on the Democratic side is out of the race. It is a very big blow to the progressives. And he really is the figurehead in the movement. But just because Bernie Sanders is out of the race, that doesn't mean that the movement has to end. That does not mean that the progressive movement should end. I never thought that Bernie Sanders was the face that was going to take progressive policies to the promised land. He's a little older, and while he can excite younger people, he did not capture the very, very important older demographic, surprisingly, because he's older. But the older people saw through that he was not the one. But his policies are very popular, and the policies that he champions are very popular. Some of them can make it. And I think that if Joe Biden was smart, he would adopt some of these very, very popular policies. The Vermont senator struggled to broaden his own support, and that's why he didn't win. That's why he used the word suspended his campaign. He suspended the campaign because there's no path to victory for Joe Biden. Now, he's going to do the same thing that he did in the 2016 campaign, and that's supposed to be to support the eventual nominee. He will seek to influence Joe Biden from the outside. Now, I've often said that Hillary Clinton should have selected Bernie Sanders in 2016 to be her VP pick. She doesn't like him, and he doesn't like her. But that should not stand in the way of a successful campaign and what's best for the country. Biden has already made gestures toward Bernie Sanders' base, and he has a strong base that has been forming and building for the last 5 years. Bernie Sanders' base is critical in a Biden victory over Trump in the fall. Critical. Whether the former vice president will take the necessary steps to win the people that are on the fence, will be an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle. However, it just so happens that we are in the midst of a pandemic that could have been better handled by the very opponent of Joe Biden. The Sanders campaign held its last live public event back on March 9th. And a transition from packed, rallies to an entirely digital operation, in which really made this separation and this suspending of the campaign a little bit more easier to digest for Sanders supporters. He communicated almost exclusively through virtual town halls and live streams focused on the coronavirus pandemic and how his progressive agenda, which of course everyone knows the Medicare for all, might have prevented or helped cushion the blow. And that's where the focus needs to be for the Biden campaign. Back in February, Bernie Sanders seemed like he was going to run away with the nomination. He had strong performances in Nevada, New Hampshire, and Iowa. It was the Latino voters supported him, and his momentum kind of came to a screeching halt. South Carolina, what they called the South Carolina firewall. Biden, lined things up and cleared the field. And here you have it. Joe Biden is the last man standing as far as the Democrats. Even Bernie Sanders winning in California was not enough. And Biden is going to be the nominee. I am glad that we did not have this go down to the wire and at the Democratic convention. Had this pandemic not happened, though, Biden would still be in the race facing Bernie Sanders. Luckily for, I'm going to say the Democratic Party, because if the Democratic Party had this contested convention and you had these two fighting down the wire, it would have made the bad blood so bad for whatever side lost, and they wouldn't want to support it fully. And that's what you had. If they feel like it is being stolen, right? Many of the Biden people want Bernie supporters on their side because they know how good of a memory they have. And last time you had many people that refused to support Hillary Clinton because they felt, and justifiably so, that the Sanders campaign was wronged by the DNC. So if you had Bernie Sanders dropping out on the heels of that feeling in 2020, it would have been very, very difficult for Joe Biden. But luckily for him, and luckily for the Democratic Party, this pandemic is really taking a lot of the steam out of the election and placed the focus where it belongs, which is on this pandemic. And a lot of the behind the scenes politics did not come into the forefront. Also, even though the DNC did a lot of shady things 2016 and in 2020, it has been overshadowed by this pandemic. And now we have Joe Biden versus Donald Trump for the presidency. Very interesting times we live in. Your man Diamond K. I'll be back this evening for the show, 7 p.m. RadioOnFire.com, at the Diamond K Show on all social media. We'll be back for tonight's show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And see you guys later on today.